back. You're live with us tonight here on Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405. The conversation at the launch of the 16 Days of Activism against women abuse here in the country. We are now joined by the Minister in the Presidency responsible for women, children and people with disabilities, Minister Maite Nkoana-Mashabane. Minister, good evening and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight. We know that we have created policies. They are in place and they are various degrees of how you deal with a situation like gender-based violence. One is to develop policy, but two is to implement the policy, and thirdly, you want to then hold the duty bearers accountable. We want to just gauge tonight in our conversation where we are as far as scaling up our responses in all these issues that I'm just raising. And we go from the premise of understanding that all humanitarian actors at all levels of society have a responsibility to play a role here, and we do accept that. But we want to interrogate a little bit about the level of intervention where you are sitting. If you can, maybe as a way of starting, talk to us about, give us a sense of how you have scaled up the implementation of the existing policies where you score quite high as far as policies are concerned.
Well, good evening. There is no individual department's policies. It's policy of government working together with the civil society organizations. We are together implementing the NSP. It's new. It's almost 2 years old. We are fighting patriarchy. We are fighting the things that has always been allowed in our societies, that, you know, GBV now with femicide, it's supposed to be a domestic matter. We are now coming out and encouraging our people to speak out. But besides speaking out, make sure that we have shelters. We're working as a group of 6 departments, but besides that, in the IMC, Interministerial Committee, largely with the security cluster, and this is advocated and led by our department. But the president expects every month a report of what all government departments are doing to contribute to no violence, zero violence, intimidation, rape, all the social ills, including murder against the helpless women in our country.
Yeah.
So we are making progress because it's no longer a matter of just one department.
Yes.
We were there for advocacy, but we are now having to engage the entirety of government from national to province, now with the district development mechanism, even with the municipalities, to tell us what is it that they do.
Yeah.
Hence the theme for this year's 16 Days of Activism. We focus on awareness, moving from awareness to accountability. If your wife's neighbor is screaming because something is not going right behind closed doors next door, it's no longer a matter of it's none of my business. I heard. That is awareness.
Right.
But taking accountability is making sure that you make sure that this case doesn't just lie down there. Secondly, we are working with the Department of Justice with the 3 bills that they have thrown into Parliament, that there's no more, I have reported my husband and No, now he is the only breadwinner. If he goes behind bars, what shall we eat? 2 days ago, I broke down listening to a woman who, I'm sorry, who was not necessarily black, who said she broke her leg, or her husband broke her leg, and she's pregnant. But she was the one that had to go to the police station to say, please release this person because I will starve.
Sure.
If we find a way to empower women economically, we will not be encouraging divorces and separations, but we will be bringing families together, because women tend to want to take care of not only themselves, but their families.
But now, Minister, while you're there, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying. It's a multi-sectoral approach to the gender-based violence question as far as response and prevention is concerned. Can you give us one or two, monitoring indicators from the relevant thematic areas that you have already mentioned: rape, spousal violence, child kidnapping, intimidation? One or two monitoring indicators for you that tell you are heading in the right direction, or you're not? What are you looking at?
We are saying to our people, working together with Social Development Department, there's been too much in the country. One hot clap, I'm sorry, my darling, it won't come back again. Once it happens, it will always be, the last will be when we do hambagash. So we are appealing to our people. We are appealing to our social workers to further be trained, including police. We need to have specialists who not only focus on crime, but also on gender-based issues. Same as in the police. Not every policeman can, or policewoman can deal with issues of GBVF. So we are also looking for partners from outside the country who can help also our ailing at the moment economy, to make sure that our women are getting a day in the sun. One of the things that has delayed progress with us is patriarchy. We think for us to move forward faster is if we disrupt patriarchy. Patriarchy needs to be disrupted, because if a woman goes to work, if women get empowered, it's for the family, it's for the community, but we should stop the silence. We cannot say safe houses is the be and end all. We want to build strong communities in order to build a strong economy.
All right. What are the milestones then? What are the clear milestones that you're talking about? For example, if you for example, look at local authorities, local government, what indicators are you looking at to tell South Africans that, look, some essential action is being taken at local government to deal with the scourge of patriarchy?
In the past, it would have been their issue and they were grappling with what they don't know what to do. Now, we are getting trainers supported by the United Nations itself to make sure that they are able to identify these social ills earlier. so that we can be able to deal with this challenge that we are confronted with. So, like I said, the issue of shelters, which is run by Department of Social Development, they cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
We cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
The security cluster cannot do it alone, but the society has to. Yeah. In my mother tongue, they say, tloga tloga, e tloga khale, modishi wa kgomo, o tswa le yona shakeng. How we socialize our boy children from a very young age makes a big difference. One participant during the day said she went to report a case to a police station and found that the policeman himself was irritable.
Sure.
Because of his upbringing.
Yeah.
Because he got there to get a job, but he really cannot deal with how he was brought up himself. So a lot of mental health, social workers working together with all the expertise we have, working, by the way, under very, very difficult situation where we also have to fight this pandemic that is bedeviling the world.
Yeah.
We now have the second pandemic, which we could finish or close if men's forum, taxi associations, men are the ones who are giving trouble to women unprovoked. But we are not blaming them. It is their upbringing. So if we could work together with faith-based organizations, with all actors in the society, we can turn around this matter. We can make the NSP work.
We're coming back in a moment with the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Minister Maite Nkoana-Mashabane, to find out more on the work that they are doing in intervening early to prevent the risk of gender-based violence. What are your thoughts? Are we doing enough in holding duty bearers accountable for the implementation of policies? 072-110-5584. You can tweet us tonight at Newzroom Afrika. You're live tonight and in focus today. South Africa launches the 16 Days of Activism campaign, and we're speaking now to the Minister and the Presidency responsible for youth and persons with disability, as well as women, Maite Nkoana-Mashabane, to find out a little bit more on the work that has been done and the progress that has been made. Now, Minister, do we have, and I suppose we do, a dedicated gender-based violence fund? And how are we maintaining this particular fund and ensuring that it responds to the changing needs, particularly in society when it comes to gender-based violence and femicide?
There has been an instruction from His Excellency the President Ramaphosa that each and every department has to ring-fence a certain amount of their budget to this sketch, so that we do not have a dedicated funding from somewhere or budget from somewhere. But we've also seen a positive contribution from progressive organizations from outside the country who are here to help augment what we are doing. So every department of government, every provincial government, now every municipality need to say, we are setting this aside just for the eventuality of this. While we understand that women wouldn't be sitting in toxic relationships if they themselves were empowered economically, if they also have access to economic well-being and activities, if they had access to finance, they could be doing things themselves to build not only their families, but also the community.
Yeah. Talking about access, right? Do all officials where you are sitting right now have access to gender-based violence guidelines, for example, in terms of the essential actions that they need to take within their departments, right? Should they feel that something is happening? That's one. But there's also a sex offenders register, which would have been compiled, particularly by the education sector, but also maybe all the other sectors contributing to it. And when are we as ordinary citizens going to have access to that?
Well, the question you're asking, or to the questions you are asking, is we are a new democracy. So we could not have finished all the challenges that we are confronted with. We come from a history where patriarchy rules, and we are trying, as I said, to disrupt that. And we think we are making some progress. But also with pedophiles, men and women, progressive men, need to work with us to make sure that this becomes a history. By the way, it's women crying out loud for being persecuted for nothing they've done wrong. So we could defeat this second pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide before COVID-19, because this one is self-made, it's us. It's how we socialize ourselves, how those who are the guardians of law and order are trained, but not just general training, but focused on issues at hand. That's where we'll make progress. And we are working with other parliamentarians through Parliament. We are working with the NCOP in Parliament. They will be calling departments, they will be calling private sector organizations to go account as to what is it that they're doing, where they are sitting.
Yeah.
But also, we should be making all, support, making use of all the support we get.
Yeah.
A child mustn't go to church and come back looking down.
Yeah.
Because something happened there. Those used to be our safe havens.
Yeah.
So every corner of the society of South Africa has to move, yes, from awareness to accountability.
Yeah.
Working together.
Right there on that question of every corner of South Africa, do you have a register or maybe a list of gender-based violence services that you have identified to meet the needs in every corner of South Africa. I mean, your service coverage so far, are you happy with how you're covering South Africa?
We are making progress. I personally would be saying I am happy where no other woman dies for doing nothing, be it in Seshego or in Matatiele or in Soweto. I would say we have been successful when we no longer have areas referred to as hotspots that come sunset, women and young girls can no longer walk here because we fought for freedom. Yeah. Our children should enjoy this country.
So where are the gaps? What are you missing? I mean,
the gaps has been, we were working in silos. We have been instructed to work together, to share information, and that's why we're talking from awareness to accountability. The register you are asking for, part of it will be with social development department, but I cannot say to you it is their responsibility alone. There's a call center there where any time of the day when a woman feels in distress can call, can be assisted. We go there several times, but that's not enough. There are shelters where women who tried it hard to stay couldn't, who are taken to those shelters, who are run by the police and social development to make sure that our women are safe.
Yeah. In as far as advocacy work, you're saying previously that has been your focus. Of course, now it's even broader to include other sectors so that you respond adequately. But a question on the advocacy work that you're carrying out, right? For example, people can ask 16 Days of Activism campaign. Are we doing the right advocacy work as far as the investment that we are putting into this campaign, in as far as the issues that we are prioritizing and the needs that we are prioritizing? Did we check this out with the women, the girls, and society, what their priorities really are?
First, it's prevention, but this thing shouldn't happen at all because it's amongst us. So it can't stop because it is between us, men and women, adults. We could also deal with mental wellness in this country that is 27 years old, coming from having been brutalized in the past. But moving forward, there is no more spectator. All adults, all hands on deck for us to make sure that we bury this once and for all. And as for 16 days of activism against abuse of women and children, it is a UN initiative. But with us, South Africa, we have committed to making it 365 days. So every day is an important day for us so that we can do away with the scourge that it's like a pain self-inflicted.
All right, let's take a quick question from WhatsApp for you, Minister. people responding to the conversation tonight. Hi, Tabo. My question to the minister is, why is government focusing on launching campaigns instead of firmly putting a stop to gender-based violence? I feel like our police system and the law is still lacking somehow in standing up for the victims. That's Tanya in Belleville. How do you respond to Tanya, Minister?
We are not launching programs regularly. We are reminding our people that we are not reneging from what the international community for that which we have signed on, like CEDAW, like 16 Days of Activism, which happens throughout the world. But we will also look at that which is needed or the need of the hour in our country. When the time comes when the whole world says 16 days, we having said 65 days, we join in, and it helps us to do stock taking as to how far are we going. We are sending, as I said earlier on, a report of all the departments and how are they faring to His Excellency the President Ramaphosa. Every month it goes through and channeled through our departments.
Yeah. I want to hear a little bit more about what are you tracking in that report that you present to the President every month. When we come back, Minister, you can expand a little bit on that. Minister in the Presidency, responsible for women, youth and persons with disabilities, Maite Nkoana-Mashabane. We'll take more of your questions as well. 072-110-5584. You can send them through, or otherwise you can tweet us tonight at Newzroom 405. We're back in a moment. In Focus, welcome back. Thanks for staying on. Minister in the Presidency, responsible for women, youth and persons with disability, Maite Nkoana-Mashabane, is with us tonight. And of course, she's outlining work that is being done as once again they continue to raise awareness around gender-based violence and femicide in the country, saying this is an awareness activity that seeks to now move us from just being aware, but to say now you're aware, you must be held accountable in every corners of the society. But I wanted you, Minister, to contextualize this activity that you're saying you do every month as various departments reporting to President Cyril Ramaphosa. What are you tracking in those reports? People are saying, oh, Minister saying, yeah, you're reporting every month, you're reporting every month. It's good and well. Maybe you're just filling up papers with words. What exactly are you reporting to the President?
Ours should be very clear that we say gender-based violence and femicide. Is there women who are still being beaten up for what they have not done? Are there women who are tortured by, insults, humiliation? You are not ugly, you're not pretty, you're not this, women who must register cases with the police stations on Fridays, and on Mondays it's tweeted, and it gets withdrawn again. And those who have been given an assurance by their partners that it will not happen again. Mm. But there's a new trend which I observed in a courtroom in Seshego in Polokwane, where women get hoodwinked by people not from this country, but also maybe they work with our own nationals. There's unemployment around the world, but more for young people in South Africa. So they get wooed into finding somebody who's going to be finding a work for them. And 10 of those in less than 3 months have died.
Sure.
7 relatives have discovered through the help of the police, and 3 are still out there. I went to that court. It was traumatizing.
Yeah.
I went to Matatiele in August this year, where a boyfriend chops a girlfriend and then buy a new saw blade and cut her body into pieces and put into a suitcase. I've been to that family. I have seen a 93-year-old woman raped by a 25-year-old woman in Belleville South. 93 years old.
Sure.
Raped. Something is not going right with our society. That's why mental health is also as important as the things we do.
Yeah.
Social workers, we also need to train those who will focus on issues, gender-based violence and femicide.
Minister, I'm going to let you go in a moment. Just literally have 2 questions for you, and then we'll let you go. But the one question is around the work that is being done, particularly as you're mentioning, having gone to the courtrooms and so on, and the cases that you're looking at. There's a huge concern around the backlog of DNA tests. What is your department doing to put pressure, I suppose, in making sure that that process is expedited? Because a lot of the cases are being lost in courtrooms because of a lack of that DNA.
The Minister of Police, who's part of our interministerial committee, is very much aware of that, and he is doing all the best he can. He has shared with us the new mechanisms that he has come up with, because it's a shame. We really cannot be held hostage by things like the DNA tests. We really would want to bury GBVF before we bury whatever COVID-19.
Yeah. And finally, Minister, you spoke earlier on of specialists, including those that are coming from overseas. Have you got a roster of specialists within the country, and how are you enhancing their capacity to be able to be relevant actors in this fight?
I think what they do, we identify them from while they're still in their countries. All they have to do is to acclimatize themselves with the localities that they will be working in, and from the experience of where they come from, they help us train relevantly, not in a generic fashion, and we think we are making progress.
Minister, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight here on In Focus, and of course your intervention in this conversation. That's the Minister in the Presidency responsible for women, children, youth and people with disabilities, Maite Nkoana-Mashabane.